The Chosen, Season 4, Episode 5. So there are two biblical... This is the newest episode of Biblical Cinematic Universe. There are two biblical stories that are basically the focus of this episode that I would like to go through those as opposed to going through every little bit of the other storylines, which are really well done in this episode, especially that last scene. Well, I'll just say that. But that also is from a biblical concept. So the main one is they are on their way to Jesus and the disciples are on their way to Mary and Martha and Lazarus' house. Mary and Bethany. Lazarus has not. Spoiler alert. He hasn't died yet. While they're on their way, they mingle the verse that where Jesus says, if someone compels you to go 1 mile, go 2 miles from him. They actually act out that verse by having Roman soldiers deliberately sort of tell Jesus that you need to take this Roman helmet and guys got to do this for at least 1 mile. I'm Canadian, so I forget what 1 mile is. How long is that? I don't know. Or an hour? I don't know. But either way, Jesus is willing to go 2 miles, and that kind of softens the Roman soldiers to kind of feel guilty for what they did and how they were humiliating them as opposed to just asking politely, I guess. But it also ticks off Judas because he's like, you're the Messiah, you should be wearing this helmet on your head. And Jesus makes a point of saying, like, the fact that it's on my head doesn't matter. So I leave you to think about that and how that might apply to other things as well. I don't know, like maybe flags at banks, maybe not worry about them so much. I don't know. But it was. I thought that the point was really well done. Now that said, obviously there's a deeper point. Like if you really to get into that passage in Scripture, I don't think that passage in Scripture means that if you are in a situation where you have a government where they're a dictatorship and telling you to do ungodly things or things that are not right, that you have to do them and you can't go to your legal authority person and say, hey, this isn't right. That's not what the Bible passage is talking about. It's talking about going the extra mile for someone, obviously. You know what I mean? So that was cool. Jesus also says, I am human. Also human when he's talking to his mom. Now, obviously, Jesus in The Chosen is divine. So it'll be interesting to have more episodes, other scenes where maybe they really showcase the fact that he says, I am not Son of God, but, God in human flesh. It'll be interesting that they ever flesh that out, how they flesh it out more. The Mary Martha scene was done really well. And again, combined another parable that is of similarity, where it's the parable of, the vineyard says, go out my field, and I need your help, and he calls people at like in the morning, and he says, I'll agree to you to, I'm going to say in my language, $100, $500 for the day or whatever it is. I don't know what minimum wage is. But let's say it was $100 a day or whatever for the day. A 10-hour period though would be less than 10 an hour. Well, you get what I'm saying. Whatever the wage is, $100, $200, $1,000. He says to the people in the morning, it's going to be this wage. He says to people at noon, it's going to be the same wage. People at 3 p.m., 5 p.m., the last hour, they all get the same wage. And how that to some people is unfair, but it's about the first being last, the last being first. That's what it's really about. It's not about laziness. It's about the actual that they get the reward because they chose to do the work of the kingdom. And then it combines that with Mary and Martha, and then Mary and Martha is presented very in a comical way, but in which he says, Martha, you're worried about many things, but Mary chose the good part. but we do value your servanthood. And it is important to remember that in that scene, that it's not that Jesus is saying that hospitality was bad. And in some cases, I'm sure, like, if it had been anybody else but Jesus, like, your mother coming into town or something, or, you know what I mean? Then, yes, hospitality first, and then, you can sit and talk later, or, it's a context thing, right? But in the case of Jesus, he's like trying to tell him, like, hey, I'm only here a short time. So, Mary actually listening to me during that short time she has to visit with me out of the scant time I'm here on this earth versus serving me, it's okay. This is important. And so that's the two stories that are really related in this episode. And so it asks, the episode asks the question: are you Mary or Martha? I tend to be more of Mary. I like serving and all that, but I tend to be more of a Mary in the sense of, like, I like reading the Bible, I like studying, I like listening. I'm not so much for doing all this servant works. You know what I mean? So I do like the story of Mary and Martha. I do think there was a missed opportunity. I'll lend to this missed opportunity to have Mary of Bethany introduced to Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, but I'm sure it is coming. Otherwise, another great episode. Let's go with an 8 out of 10. And this has been the Biblical Cinematic Universe. Thank you.